1. When I was 17 years old, I was homeless and still trying to figure out my life. But my liver was muddy with liquor, and I couldn't go a single day without being intoxicated to the blackout point. This continued throughout the next 3 years, and I still kinda struggle with it. Not as badly at this point. So one night, this dude I used to chill with, he was 30 at this point, and I had been chilling with him for 5 years. After he told me if I'd be his friend, he'd feed me alcohol whenever I wanted. We got a bottle of Jack Daniels and headed out to Niagara Falls, Ontario for some drinks, music, and a good night. Now, a little something about Dan. He also was and still is an alcoholic with serious anger issues. So every other time we got through about half the bottle, I asked him for about $40 so I could grab a case of beer up the road, because I didn't think us splitting a 40-ounce would get me that nice, toasty, blackout drunk feeling I loved. Dan flipped out, threw the money at me and called a speedy. An illegal taxi service was cheaper than a regular cab, and went home. I stood outside the beer store, and finally found someone to get me a case of beer, and I walked back down Clifton Hill to the Shearton Hotel. Out front were benches and tables for passers-by to sit, smoke, etc. I sat down, cracked a cold one, lit a smoke, turned on some tunes, and chilled out happy to be finally drinking alone. Along comes this dude, obviously a tourist with a heavy British accent. He sits down next to me and taps me on the shoulder. I pull out my headphones and he says, "Hey man, what are you doing drinking alone?" I then explained to him my situation and we chatted for a while I get toasted. He then orders a pizza, because I was starving and, idiot me, didn't think to buy food, or save some money for a taxi home. We eat the pizza and keep chatting. Now this guy had a super flamboyant personality. I was totally cool with that and didn't think anything of it until he asked me, "You know, you're super cute. Have you ever been with a guy before?" I responded, "Nah man, I don't swing that way. I'm totally cool with having friends who do, just don't try to hit on me." He was cool with it, and we continued our conversations till I ran out of beer. He helped me drink a lot of it. Around that time I realized I didn't have a ride home. That's when he said he didn't have any more cash on him, but he was staying at the hotel with family, and I could chill with him until morning, and his parents would drive me home. He said he had more beer in the hotel room. "Let's go chill outside the pool and drink till it opens, then we will swim till everyone's awake." Stupid me thought, well, more free beer and swimming, plus I get a ride home. Can't complain. So we went up, grabbed the case, walked down the hall to where the indoor pool was. We sat down and drank and continued to chat. Now at this point I'm super drunk and literally passing out. I lay down on the floor and tell him to wake me up when the pool doors open. He says okay and I pass out. When I came to, probably about 20 minutes later, he was straddling my back and massaging me. I pushed him off and flipped out. "I told you not to do that, man." To that he responds, "Chill, man. I thought if I could get you into the mood we could do something." I snapped and turned around and ran down the hallway to the elevator. When I got down to the lobby I was crying. One of the people who worked there asked me if I was okay and what had happened. I explained everything, and by the time I was done, I was a bubbling mess. You may call me a pussy or whatever, but when you've gone through almost similar but worse situations in the past, everything comes out at once. She called the police, and not only did the cops show up, so did an ambulance. They brought me to the hospital to talk to a psychiatrist and a detective. I wasn't having it, and just wanted to go somewhere to sleep. Now what I did next, I have no idea why I did it. Maybe because my family owned the restaurant across from the Shearton, and I just wanted to be in a familiar environment. But I went back to the hotel and I was sitting in the lobby charging my phone, trying to get a few winks of sleep before my family's restaurant opened, and I could go sleep in the office. I come to, and there's the same dude sitting in front of me. He was just staring at me with this horrific grin. He says to me, "You got me arrested in front of my family. But you left the hospital so they couldn't charge me with anything." I said, "So what? I didn't want to press charges. I just didn't want you to keep touching me." With that, I walked to the front desk and explained how he was harassing me. Yes, I'm aware I went back to the same hotel he was at. Doesn't mean he had to come up to me. The cops showed up, and as I'm walking out, I hear him call over to me. "You're fucking dead if I ever see you again." With that, the cops drove me back to Dan's house. He flipped the fuck out on me again after the cops left. I've never seen him again, and after about 3 years in and out of jail, almost killing myself and struggling with alcoholism, this situation having just added to the depression I didn't understand I had, I'm now finally almost back on my feet. I work full-time at the restaurant now, but every time I go to work, I am reminded what that situation could have turned into, and I thank God every day that He taught me the lessons He did. So to anyone thinking that an innocent-looking person who wants to help you out actually wants to help you out, don't fucking trust them. Creeper from the Niagara Falls, Sheerton. Let's never meet again. 2. First, some backstory so you can understand the history I had with him, and why it messed me up so badly. Almost 12 years ago I met a guy, Charlie, online, in a video game. We played together for a while, talked every day. Eventually exchanged phone numbers, started texting, called, and inevitably developing feelings for each other. I decided I'm an adult-ish woman, at the ripe age of 19, almost 20. And that I should make the 3,000-mile move to be with this guy. At this point we had been talking for almost 2 years, and I felt confident in this choice. He promises me everything a girl could want in a relationship, and I fall for it hook, line, and sinker. I arrive in a southern Texas town, and he picks me up from the airport, and we drive to his house. We planned I would live in his grandmother's house, being as it was vacant, and I could afford the rent. He says since his grandmother had passed away, it was something he had cleared with his aunt, and I was all good to move in. He originally told me he would move in with me too, which never happened. The first red flag should have been when he hid me in the house. He never got the permission for me to live there, and it turned out the house was going to be sold in a few weeks. I ended up on the couch at his parents' house, whom he lived with. His family is really religious, and he didn't want to let them down by finding somewhere else for us. So I lived with them for a few months, paying rent by cooking and cleaning for his family. I get a part-time job working with Charlie at a major clothing retailer. This is very important later on. I go to his church, fit in with his group of friends, and everything is great. His family likes me, and I'm enjoying my time in Texas. The second red flag I missed was his hesitation to introduce me as his girlfriend. He would simply introduce me as his friend and tell people we are just friends. In private, though, it was the opposite. He would tell me he loved me, how much he cared for me, and that he couldn't wait for us to live together. Everyone knew Charlie and I were together, but he denied it. Hard. About 6 months of this, I'm approached by some girl whose name I don't remember, and she basically tells me I've stolen her man, that one day some girl is going to weasel her way in like I did, and I'll know her pain. Then she leaves. I never see her again or anything. Fast forward about 2 or 3 years, and I'm finally catching on about his shit. I'm tired of being told in public I'm not his girlfriend, but in private how much he loves me. We are on and off again at this point, but we still have feelings for each other and decided to really give it another go. A new girl, Lucy, starts to work with us and they become fast friends, her calling at all hours to complain about a jerk boyfriend. I instantly had a bad feeling about her, hated her, but I tried so hard to like her and be friends, inviting her over for drinks, taking her to concerts. You name it, I tried it against my better judgment. Her birthday comes up, and he takes her to lunch while I'm working, and I see this picture he posted of her on Facebook. And the look she is giving him in the picture, I just know he is screwing her. My heart sinks, so I confronted him, and he tells me it's an unfair question to ask if he is sleeping with her. So I break up with him, but decide to stay friends. Biggest mistake of my life. Lucy starts talking about Charlie and his skills in bed, bad-mouthing him, spreading rumors at work, just crazy stuff. And she blames me. Around this time, Charlie is also passed over for promotion at work, and makes an offhanded comment about how he is going to shut up the store because of this. Another red flag that I totally missed. Charlie is let go, and rumors run wild. I stay silent because of an investigation at work about the rumors, and the comment Charlie made about shutting the place up, and I wanted no part of that mess. About a week, maybe two later, Charlie asks me to go to the movies with him, and I said I would go with him. He then kidnapped me, taking me into the back country, far, far away from anywhere, the middle of nowhere. He parks the car, and I feel super scared at this point. He hasn't said a word in over 30 minutes, and I don't have cell service. He pulls out a gun, cocks it, points it at me, and tells me to tell the truth or he will kill me. I start crying, telling him I have no idea what he is on about, and he pulls the trigger. It's empty. He cocks it again and points it again, telling me I need to tell the truth, that we are playing Russian roulette, and I would die if I kept lying. He did this 3 more times. Each time was empty. I'm in hysterics at this point. Can't breathe, I'm crying so hard. He tosses the gun in the back seat with a laugh and says, "I'm just playing with you. I just wanted to see if you kept your story straight. I had to be sure who was lying to me. I'm so glad it's not you. You're a great friend." And he drives us back to town for the movies, talking the whole time like nothing was wrong. I'm terrified still, and know I have to get away. So I excuse myself partway into the movie. I go into the restroom, call a friend to pick me up, and then I call the cops. When it was all said and done, they couldn't do anything to him because he never actually hurt me. And he didn't have the gun when they came to his house, and I had no proof anything happened. I went into hiding, and later found out he had planned this out with Lucy, and that it was her way to get rid of me, because she was jealous. He went on to date Lucy for a few more years. I've been hiding from him for 5 years now, and eventually cut all contact with mutual friends when one of them was having lunch with me and told Charlie about it. I thankfully left before he was able to show up. He apparently wanted to talk to me. I hope we never meet again, Charlie. 3. About a month ago, I ordered a birthday gift for my roommate, and received a notification that it had arrived. Well, it hadn't. My apartment has a letter in its designation, but the building behind me does not. If you put that address into a GPS, it'll direct you to the building behind me, and drop the letter. Amazon is great. The third-party shipping company they use, not so much. Last time my package ended up there. I thought it may be the same this time, so I went looking for it. I was wearing my older glasses, some pajama shorts, and flip-flops. I looked ridiculous at 1 p.m. on a Friday afternoon, but not enough to excuse what happened. I looked at the door that shares my apartment number, but it looked like no one lived there, so I knocked on the adjacent one. No one answered, and I knocked one more time, figuring he probably wasn't even home. Well, he answered, wearing only a pair of boxers. He asked me curtly, "Yeah." I asked if there'd been a package earlier and if he might have taken it inside. I stupidly explained the apartment problem and happened to drop my apartment number in the conversation. "No." I apologized for bothering him and left. I went back home to explain to my roommate why his package was lost in the mail, when there was a very loud knock at my door. For some reason, I assumed it was likely a disgruntled delivery man. I had been on and off the phone the entire time. So I opened my door, without the chain lock. As you can expect, he was standing on the other side, dressed in a shitty tank top and basketball shorts. He looked me square in the eye and said, "Hey, don't you ever knock on my door again. Do you hear me? Huh? Don't ever do it again. Ever. In your life. What's your name?" Before I could give a pseudonym, he continued, "Don't ever knock on it again." I pleaded and panicked and promised to never do it again, completely in shock. My roommate heard the entire thing, but he did not see him. Multiple neighbors also directly witnessed the entire altercation. I didn't call the police because he hadn't done anything, and I was afraid he would target me. The next day, his neighbor, the door I didn't knock on, delivered my package and apologized for the mix-up. It was Mother's Day, so my mom was visiting and I was at work. After all that, I began seeing him at my workplace. It's a public service area, so he's freely available to come and go as he pleases. The trouble is, I don't know if I simply started noticing him after the incident. But he's pretty distinctive and aloof. I'm certain I would have noticed. He just walks and has his earbuds in. Occasionally he does something on his computer for a bit. He is there almost from open to close every day. It's a library, so again, this is normal. We cross paths almost every one of those days too. I dress more formally at work and wear nicer glasses. Up until recently, I wasn't sure he even recognized me, and thought maybe I was worrying about nothing and I'd simply pissed off an ineffectual dickhead. Then tonight happened. I was on the phone with a friend at about 9 p.m., walking down a road I often walk when I take walks. Usually earlier, but I felt safe taking my trash to the dumpster, almost the same distance away at 2 a.m. Perhaps naively, I spotted him alone on the basketball court, and he clearly saw me too. I tried to pretend not to notice, but kept him in my peripheral vision. I kept walking as if nothing was wrong, because up until now he'd done nothing since the first incident. But I could see he was leaving the court in a direction to head me off. While he was behind some bushes, I turned around. He continued to follow me, and I simply stayed on the phone with my friend as if nothing was wrong. It's times like these that I regret not coming up with those safe-word phrases to alert people when I get paranoid. He quickened his pace, and so did I. Eventually he was too close to keep that up, so I turned around and asked him if he had a problem with me. "Didn't you knock on my door?" was the only response I got. I meekly responded yes, unsure of how else to approach this. Then he said, "So what are you doing here?" We were outside the local community center. Our apartment complexes are adjacent to it. We're probably both the same distance. He repeated this several times and continued approaching me. I could see he was going to lunge and attack, and fight or flight kicked in. This man is a foot taller than me and was shirtless with some clearly maintained pectorals. I chose flight. I'm not sure if he was half-assing the chase or adrenaline kicked in, but I managed to keep out of his reach. He threw his basketball at me during the chase and grabbed for me several times. Finally, he stopped to catch his breath and I kept running. I stopped running inside of my house, thinking he'd given up, and went inside. I locked the door and called 911 immediately. While on the phone, he began banging loudly on the door like the first time. This went on intermittently for about 10 minutes. Apparently, in that time, 2 different neighbors saw him, and one verbally argued with him and told him to leave. When the police showed up, I explained everything above and described him. They found him behind my building, unclear how close to his unit he was, and spoke with him. According to the officer that went to check on that side of things, he thinks I'm stalking him and stealing his packages. He also told this to my neighbor. I have no self-defense weapons at the moment, and I don't feel safe. I can't even go to work for respite. They can remove him from the property, library, permanently, but I'm almost afraid to do that because it will only make him angrier and leave him wandering around here more often instead. I don't know what to do. I'm not sure when I can feel comfortable leaving my apartment. To say nothing of the fact that I don't feel safe in here either. According to the police, this only counts as simple assault, a misdemeanor. I can go to the magistrate tomorrow to get a warrant for his arrest, but that's not going to be for any real length of time. They can't arrest him now as they did not catch him in the act, or at my door. My neighbors are concerned for their own safety as well. Edit. Thanks so much, everyone. I'm going to try and get to as many comments as I can, but it's been a long day. I saw the magistrate, got the warrants and the court date, and pursued a restraining order. It sounds largely like most of that will be entirely useless, but it's something. I've read too many stories here where people didn't take action early. On a personal level, I've already purchased a door barricade and pepper spray. They should be here tomorrow. I have a friend who is going to give me a gun, and I'll be getting that on Friday, and completing the proper paperwork. I'm also going to hit the gym, lawyer up, and delete Facebook. I'm also going to look into a concealed carry permit, and get another gun for actual home defense, as well as take classes both in general and gun-related. I appreciate the people telling me I should stay somewhere else, but unfortunately that isn't an option. I moved from another state and have no one that close to move in with, plus I have cats and a roommate, who just happened to be out last night. So I'd prefer we both be here all the time instead of only one of us and the danger being increased. I've been making my co-workers aware for the last month or so, telling them about the incident, pointing to the guy, so they know. Today there was an enormous outpouring of support from everyone but the assistant director, who was mostly of the opinion that I needed to stop panicking staff. So fuck that. Everyone else was great though. Offering to come over, offering to let me use their guest bedroom for a while, etc. I worked out while detailing the encounters to another co-worker that he is indeed primarily here during my work hours, and only evenings the evenings I work, so it definitely seems more and more like stalking. All I can do now is wait, hope, and be prepared for the worst. My property manager wasn't useful in the slightest, but she is sending an email to the Homeowners Association. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to 3 True Scary Stories, episode 301. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. You know, I really need to do something about my sleeping schedule. It's completely out of whack these days and is entirely my own fault. What I really need to do is get up early one day and just stay awake. No little naps or anything when I inevitably get tired. I keep telling myself, you know, and at the end of the day, end of the night, that, okay, alright, work's done, you've relaxed, you've eaten, had a bath, all that. You should probably go to bed a little early. And even if I do go upstairs and get into bed, I get distracted. Last night I got distracted by watching reviews, and I'm still doing it today, watching reviews of blenders because I need a new blender for making smoothies. And holy poops, the last time I bought a blender, I just picked something that was affordable, and I thought would get the job done. And in fairness, it's fine, it does get the job done for the most part, but I need something a bit more powerful now. So I've been looking at various ones, and they all seem crap in their own ways, is probably the best way to describe it. I was looking at reviews comparing Vitamix and Blendtex, and they both seem to do, you know, they both do the job, but they also seem to not do a lot of things, and especially for the price that, that those two particular brands are charging. Yeah. Well, back to the drawing board. I'll keep looking about. Maybe I'll get some decent on a sale, who knows. Anyway, I'm going to head off for now, so until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourself.